Now let's look at how to service a route using our iPhone app. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to go into setup and pull down some information. So let's go ahead and click setup, and I'm going to get my route for the day, get my chemicals, my parts, and my notes. So let's start by getting the route, and it says I have 11 pools to service, so I'm going to click OK. I'm going to get my chems, so then my parts, then the notes. Okay, so now I should also get my to-do list to see if there are any tasks for me to do, and it turns out I do have 2 tasks, so click OK. So I've now downloaded everything I need, so I'm going to click the finish button to return to the main screen. So now I can begin servicing my pool. So I'm going to click on service my route, and it brings up a list of the addresses of the pools that I'm going to service. You'll notice that there are 2 asterisks next to the first address, and that's just to tell me this is the one I should start on. Now, if I were to start on a different address, those 2 asterisks would move down to the one that I'm working on. Okay, so let's begin by tapping the address that's first on the list, and it brings up the customer screen. Customer screen shows you the name of the customer, and if it's available, a phone number, and what type of service you're doing today. Below that is the gate access information, so you can actually get in to the premises if there is gate access information. And it displays scrollable, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit. And below that is the specs of the pool. So it tells me that it's a 30,000 gallon pool. It has a sand filter and a gunite shell. Below that are some specs for the visit that I did the last 2 times I visited the pool. So here it's telling me my readings that I recorded and the chemicals that I actually added to the pool. Okay, and so it gives you those sets of information for the last 2 times you visited the pool. All right, so to begin servicing this pool, I'm going to click the start button, and you notice it changes the color to tell me that I have just pressed it. The next thing I'm going to do is to test the water and log my readings. So I'm going to press log chems, and it brings up the chems screen. So again, you'll notice at the top it tells me what I added to the pool on the last visit. Okay, so assume that we're going to test for free chlorine. So I do my test and I read the results, and now I have to record the results. Let's assume that the result is 3.1. So I scroll through my list, and I can see that there isn't 3.1 in the list. It goes from 3.0 to 3.5. But if I want to enter that 3.1, I can do so in this box right here. So all I have to do is tap in the box, and it will bring up the keyboard. So now I can type 3.1, and then I'm going to click the save button since I've entered a custom reading. So if I had used one of these other options down here, all I would need to do is to touch it. I wouldn't need to hit the save button afterwards, because the save button is just for when you enter a value in this field here. Okay, now that we've recorded our test result, we're going to add some chemicals to the pool. So I'm going to touch the add chems option at the top, and it brings up a list of my chemicals. Okay, so let's assume we're going to add some chlorine tablets. So I'm going to tap 3-inch chlorine tablet, and you'll notice it shows it up at the top here. And we're going to add 4 tablets, so tap inside the quantity box, and it'll bring up the keyboard. So we type 4, and then we're going to press the done key to make the keyboard go away, and the unit's already tablets. Now, if I were adding some other unit, let's say pounds, I would change that by clicking on this button right here, and it would change it. So if you keep pressing it, it will come back around. So we want tablets, so just keep pressing it until tablets appear. And we're back. Okay, so I've used 4 chlorine tablets. So now the next thing is, did the customer give me these tablets? If the customer gave me these tablets, I need to press the customer owned button, which is right there. So when I do, it changes the color. Now, assuming that the customer did not give me these tablets and I'm using inventory off my truck, I'm going to turn that off, and I'm just going to tap the save button, and it tells me that my chemical has been added. Now I can add another chemical if I want. Let's say, for argument's sake, we're adding 1.5 pounds of dichlor. Okay, so all I do is tap dichlor, and then tap inside the quantity box and type 1.5 for 1.5 pounds. I click the done button to make the keyboard go away. And now we're doing pounds, so I can click the button right there to change the units to pounds. I always have to make sure that I'm recording the correct unit. And now that I've finished, I can click the save button, assuming that the customer didn't give me this chemical. If they did, I would have to press the customer owned button, but let's say they didn't. So I click save, and now that chemical is also recorded. Okay, I'm done recording chlorine, so now I can click the finish button up at the top, and you can see that the chlorine button is now dark to tell me that I've already recorded my readings for free chlorine and the chemicals. Okay, so let's do the same thing for pH. So I'm going to press pH, and this time, let's say the reading for pH, the test result is 7.2. So all I have to do is press 7.2 in the list, and you'll notice that there's just a dark band there to tell me that I've already selected it. Okay, and up at the top you can see 7.2 appears right there. So we know that it's in effect. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is add some chemicals for my pH. So I'm going to click Add Chems up at the top and choose, I don't know, let's choose pH increaser. So I tap on it, and you notice it shows up at the bottom here. Incidentally, if you press on an option and it shows the chemical there, what if that's not the chemical you wanted? If that's not the chemical you wanted, just change your option. So you can always press on something else, okay, and it will change it. So we choose that chemical, and now I can click in the quantity box, and again, let's go with 2 pounds. So press the number 2, press the done key to move the keyboard away, and my units is already set to pounds, so I just simply click the save button, and then it tells me that adds the chemical. I press OK, and now I'm going to click finish because I'm done adding chemicals. So there, the button for pH is also dark now. Okay, so now I'm done adding my chemicals, so I press the finish button, and it brings me back to the customer screen. Now I'm going to log the tasks that I do when I'm cleaning pools, so I press log task, and then I'm going to press the button next to each task as I do them. So as you do each task, you simply press the button to indicate that you've completed that. When you're done with all the list of tasks, then you press the finish button up at the top. So click finish, and it's asking you if you're going to record any filter pressure. If you have a filter pressure reading that you need to record, just scroll the list, find a reading, and simply press the number that's appropriate. That's all you have to do. Now we're done with that. We're going to press finish up at the top, and it takes me back to the customer screen again. Now there are other options on here, and we're not going to go through every single one because we have them covered in other videos. But let's say we're just going to leave a note for the customer. So I'm going to click note reminder. So I tap note reminder, and I'm going to choose a note that's in the list. Now the list is scrollable. So let's say I want to tell the customer that the water looks good. So I just tap water looks good. And if I need to leave an alert message for the customer, let's say I need the customer to add water to the pool, just tap add water there. And now I'm done. I can click finish up at the top. So finish. Now it's asking me, do you want to leave a note for yourself? I can leave a note for myself by tapping in the box, and it brings up the keyboard. So, for example, I can say, check the pump runtime on the next visit. Let's say on the next visit. Okay. So now, once you're done with the keyboard, you can press the hide keyboard option up at the top to make the keyboard go away. And then I can save. If I needed to enter a reminder, I can enter it below. Again, there's a separate video that shows you how to do that. But let's say we're done with this. So I'm going to click the finish button. And there I'm back to the screen. Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to log a part. So I'm clicking log parts. And I'll scroll through the list and choose a part. Let's say we choose a filter. And the next thing is to tell it how many. So I'm just going to choose one. And click done. And there's my quantity 1. If the customer gave it to me, I would click the customer owned button. But since it's not, I'm just going to click save. And it tells me that it successfully saved the part. So now I'm done adding the part. So I can click finish up at the top. And it takes me back to the customer menu. So now I can review my work by pressing the review work button. So press review. And it's a scrollable display. So you can look over what you've done. At the bottom, you can see the parts in the chems that you've entered. But you look over the list, make sure you didn't miss anything. And when you're done, you're going to click the finish button. And you can also review your chemicals and parts by clicking the Review Chems button, which is right here. So click Review Chems, and it brings up a list. Now let's say that I didn't really mean to log this part, and I want to get rid of it. I can easily do that. All I do is tap on that item in the list. So tap on the item in the list, and it says, please confirm that you want to delete this part from the list. So if you say yes, it will delete it. If you say no, it won't delete it. Okay? So here, I'm going to click no just to demonstrate. So I click no, and the item is still there. Now this time, I'm going to click yes, and there, the item is gone. So now that item will not be recorded. Now, if I made a mistake and I need to re-enter it, I can go back in and re-enter that part. Okay, so now we click finish to get out of there. So we've reviewed everything. So all I need to do at this point is to click finish. Once I click finish, it asks me, are you done with this pool? You simply say yes. And there, it is done. Now, if you are connected to Wi-Fi, if you have a Wi-Fi that you're connected to where you are, the app will automatically sync and send the data to the server. If you are not connected to Wi-Fi, cell signal is not fast enough for the phone, and so the phone will just not send the data. Okay? But once you finish servicing a pool, the address of that pool will drop off the list as you see here. And so now you can go to the next pool and service it. But that's how you service a pool using the iPhone app.